I hate to keep harping on this game. I genuinely used to love it, but the longer this goes on, the harder it is to just stay quiet. I mean, I made 2 videos about it, but you know what I mean. Like, what is happening to Age of Empires 4's like balance is not normal. Like, these feel like mistakes of a team that inherited a game and never actually played it. Every patch either makes something worse, ignores the thing that's been broken for like months, or actively buffs the problem. And this one is no different. Like, before I get into the specifics, and I'm going to get into all of them, or most of them anyway, let me quickly explain how this game is supposed to work, because I think that matters. I got a lot of pushback on my last 2 videos for people that just functionally didn't understand the way that the game was. AoE 4 runs on a rock paper scissors system. Theoretically, infantry counter cavalry, ranged infantry counter melee infantry, cavalry counter ranged infantry. It's simple on paper, but then the devs layered in a flat armor system instead of a percentage-based armor system that you'd find in an older RTS. So that's kind of where the main problem comes from as far as the way that the old game was played. 1 point of armor negates 1 point of damage every time. It sounds kind of clean and readable and easy to balance around, but it's right up until you get a unit that comes along and does so much damage, has so much health, that the unit meant to counter it just actually doesn't do the job anymore. That's Knights. Knights have been broken since launch. The Spearman is supposed to be their counter, as well as Crossbowmen, but they get enough armor, half of the Crossbowman damage is negated by armor and Imperial, and they have so much health to the point where you might as well have been shooting them with an archer the entire time. Spearmen don't do enough counter damage as it is, so you're literally just trying to slow down a Knight blob and hope the opponent's economy breaks before yours does, because you're making cheaper units than he is, but he kills 5 of them per one Knight, and you have to make 5 of them consistently, so the eco levels average out, at least on paper. But that's not a real counter. That's just a speed bump. And on top of that, Siege has no real counter anymore either, but I'll get into that later. Just to start out really quick, the victory screen change doesn't fit the game, and I think it just further adds to the fact that these new devs will just change things for the sake of changing things. The new screen stylistically goes against the game's overall menu features and really stands out. Who the fuck asked for a victory and defeat screen change? Why? I just think it further elucidates that these devs will trample on anything that the older devs made without a second thought. Let's get through this patch, because I have a lot to say about the major changes. The town center cost reduction. Stone cost goes down by 50. It's fine. It's a small economic quality of life change. Won't break anything, also won't fix anything. The palisade walls go from 1250 to 1350. It's minor, but I'll take it, because this is a really huge buff to the early game, especially with the way that rushes are dominant right now. So I kind of like it. Reducing the spearman cooldown from 4 seconds to 0.25 seconds is great. Genuinely a really good change. The spear wall ability is now actually usable in real combat instead of feeling like it was designed for a cutscene or something. Health of elite spearmen going up to 140. It's only like a plus 10 health. I don't know how much that really matters, to be honest with you. Their speed up to 1.3. Sure, it's fine. I'm not against buffing spearmen, but here's the thing. You can buff spearmen stats all you want. You can give them a cape and a theme song or whatever. It doesn't really matter when the unit they're designed to counter still doesn't give them the respect they're supposed to demand. They should be strong, not just in the early game. They should be strong throughout the entire game. They are the counter to a unit that is made the strongest at Imperial. They don't kill Knights fast enough unless we're talking about Order of the Dragon Spearmen or Lancaster Spearmen, because they actively reduce the armor of anything that they attack. Spearmen don't need to be buffed just because of Knights either. They need to be buffed specifically because of elephants as well. Like, Knights on paper and even like in gameplay, because they're so widespread, show the downfalls of the armor system, the 1-to-1 armor system, but elephants take it to the next level. Nothing in this game should come close to 1000 HP, yet alone having 1200 or close to 1200 HP. That is ridiculous. Even Order of the Dragon Spearmen have a hard time killing elephants, and that's mainly because they don't have the penalty of not being able to attack while they move, and the fact that they can do damage to stone walls. I have no idea why the 2 Glock Raider elephant does damage to stone walls. It's literally like a baby elephant. Why is it doing damage to stone walls? Remove that from the game. The Spriggle changes. This one genuinely irritates me. The Spriggle used to have counter siege damage. It was the unit unit you built specifically to take out other siege engines. It was quite literally the only thing that balanced the rock, paper, scissors aspect of Siege. That role was removed for some reason. Quietly, without any fanfare, just a line in the balance patches. Not even a community note as to why. And it was never given back, even though for the past year, we have seen the reverberations of it inside the game. So now we have a Siege unit that no longer counters Siege, which means that Siege as a category has no hard counter. So what did they do in this patch? They slightly nerfed Spriggles while also boosting their attack speed by 5% and removed its ability to benefit from ranged blacksmith upgrades, while leaving the core problem completely untouched. And then whenever you think about these siege changes, when it goes into effect for the Macedonians turn Spriggles into something that functionally behaves like a mangonel, but fast. It's an extremely mobile siege engine that has explosive rounds on the tip. Not only do they hit multiple units, they explode. What are we doing? With no counter, by the way, except for archers. Archers only counter Spriggles because Spriggles have such low health. That's the only reason why they're countered by archers. Every other siege engine in the game does not get countered by archers at all. They have too much health. They don't get countered by bombards, which you would think would be the next logical step of removing the Spriggled and Culverin counter damage. Did they nerf the overall cost of bombards? No. Did they buff the overall damage of bombards? No. So most siege engines take 4 shots to break with a single bombard, which means you have to have 4 bombards to kill 1 siege unit. And bombards are the most expensive siege unit in the game. Or Spriggles are the cheapest unit in the game, and they used to counter everything. That is good game design, because the enemy can make Spriggles just as well as you could, and now there's dynamic gameplay. Now I have to wait until Imperial Age to counter 4 mangonels. And not only do I have to wait until the Imperial Age to counter 4 mangonels, I have to spend the resources of, 5 times 1 mang to be able to one-shot a single mangonel? Why? Men-at-Arms cost reduction, generally, I think it's a good change. I think I'm fine with it. Infantry armories have been underused because cavalry dominate, but this won't do anything. If anything, it'll just make retards be like, oh, they changed men-at-arms. Let me see what they changed. Oh, they made them cheaper and they produce faster. That's good because that's better than nothing. Meanwhile, they're just going to go back to using knights anyway. Let's be honest, it's not going to matter. It won't stop people from spamming knights, because knights are still knights. They break the fundamentals of the game. Like, this will just get retards to look at Men-at-Arms, which this community is full of, and be like, oh, Men-at-Arms might be OP now. Let me spam them and see. Which I'll get into later with the fucking Sengoku and Japanese changes that they literally buffed for no fucking reason. Wolves killing traitors. This change does nothing except slightly nerf the Knights Templar, who use the speed bonus that they got from being attacked. That's it. That's the whole thing. The Silk Bowstring nerf. I want to sit with this one for a bit. Siege has no counter. I feel like I've established that. The Spriggled's counter siege damage roll was gutted. Bombards are no reliable check. In that context, Silk Bowstrings, the upgrade that gives archers more range, was functioning as the closest thing in the game to a soft counter. It never went that smoothly where you're trying to balance staying far enough away where mangonels can't hit you, but also being able to shoot them. That's just a fantasy. And mangonels can get a range upgrade, which negates Silk Bowstrings anyway, unless you have Windguard Rangers. So naturally, seeing that Siege already didn't have a hard counter, they nerfed the soft counter. Why? What are we doing? They cut the gold by like 200? Who gives a fuck? A cheaper bad upgrade is still a bad upgrade. Knowing that that was one of the only things that helped you with Siege, and even then you needed 50 of them to be able to do damage to mangonels, because for some reason they added percentage armor on mangonels while gutting the Siege system. I have no idea. I don't know what they were thinking, because then it would be too easy for archers to kill something that outranges them by default and continues to outrange them in the Imperial Age. So whether this was intentional or just negligent by the devs, I genuinely can't tell anymore. Either way, the result is the same. Siege now has even less things to worry about. So English in the House of Lancaster, the White Tower garrison slots being reduced by 5. I need someone at the studio to explain to me the thought process here. It was probably one of the most strategically important landmarks you can rush to castle for, specifically because of the rush dominated meta right now. So when you're getting rushed and your TC can't hold, the White white tower buys you time by doing more damage and by shooting consistently and just having a shit ton of health. It is doing exactly what a defensive landmark is supposed to do. Why nerf it? What problem does this solve? The actual problem, that you can plop a white tower directly into somebody's base, was left completely untouched. There should be a tile limit preventing military structures or defensive structures from being built too close to somebody's town center until the TC is destroyed. That's the fix. Garrison slots were never an issue. I don't even think the devs in their infinite wisdom even thought about the fact that people were putting the white tower in other people's bases. I genuinely just think that they changed shit just because. I don't know who asked for this. I don't know how 20 is any worse than 15, other than the fact that you're saving an extra 5 peasants whenever your base is being rushed by 3 rams and 40 men-at-arms early by the Japanese guy or the Sengoku guy. I have no idea like who said that this was a good idea in a rush-dominated game right now. The Lancaster buffs, the one-time muster, by the way. Genuinely, I'm not going to spend much time on this. You will never use this. We're just polishing something that nobody uses. At least let people hold units in a giant keep that you get in Feudal Age. The Japanese and Sengoku buffs are the real reason why I made this video. Sengoku is the strongest civ in the game right now. Their knights move faster than anything that can kill them. Their economy is the strongest and easiest to execute in the game. This goes for Japanese and Sengoku. The Sengoku Daimyo aura stacks buffs on top of a unit roster that's already overtuned, and their rush pressure is something most civs simply cannot match in the early game. They get cheaper barracks, more armor earlier, easiest eco. Why are we buffing their men-at-arms? Just because other men-at-arms got buffed? Are we thinking with our brains? Deflective armor needs to be out of the game. Reducing the cooldown fucking does nothing. The civ passively starts every engagement ahead of you. You are on the back foot of every single engagement. You're not fighting Sengoku or Japan on even terms. Ever. What are we doing? Increasing the window between uses does not change that. They fixed a bug. I don't care. Sengoku needed nerfs. It got cheaper units and slightly longer cooldowns on a broken passive. That's not balance. What are we doing?
Everything else is kind of negligible for the most part. None of it really matters. They just released another balance patch update where they quote unquote nerfed Sengoku and they buffed Jin Dynasty because the Jins are kind of bad. They doubled the cost of the horse training upgrade that makes them move 5% faster now. I just don't think that knights should be able to move any percentile faster since they're already the fastest unit in the game. They nerfed a bunch of stuff, but the Yatai car is still broken. I don't give a shit if it gives 30 food per minute instead of 60. You can make a shit ton of them. I don't care if they reduce the health. It's basically a unit. They're nerfing this like it's a building, but it's a unit. My spearmen or whatever are not gonna kill this thing fast. They don't do torch damage. It's made out of fucking wood. Why doesn't it take torch damage? What are we doing? Why the fuck does it have 300 health if it's a worker? What are we doing? They don't understand the fundamentals of the game that are problems. They're like, let's tweak stats instead of actually fucking nerfing things. Like, sure, it's, the gather rate is half off. Does it matter when after 5 minutes they pay themselves off? And if you're next to water, it gives you the same 60 food per minute anyway, because fish for some reason have an obscene amount of food. It doesn't matter, dude. How the fuck did knights not get touched at all this patch? How have they not been meaningfully nerfed at all over the course of this entire game's life cycle? Why has it not been nerfed? What the fuck are we doing? Why did 2 Glocks not get fucking nerfed into the ground? Why did we buff the 2 Glock ballista elephants? What are we doing? Knights Templar, Condottiero. Where do I start? Rock, paper, scissors, balance. Why the fuck are there units in this game that don't take counter damage from anything? Genuine question. Why are there units in this game that don't take counter damage from anything? I don't understand. These units are already some of the most oppressive in the game because the things that you would use to counter them are countered by the rest of their kit. They don't have a clean counter. To deal with them effectively, you need a bunch of mangonels plus a melee infantry to screen for you. But the moment that you commit to a melee infantry against a Templar player, you walk directly into their gunner crossbowmen, who do bonus damage to melee infantry. This patch just increased their damage reduction against gunpowder to 50%, which is funny because that means that gunpowder
gunpowder are probably one of the things that do the most damage against them anyway. Especially if you're playing Order of the Dragon, because you're just shooting an M4 basically. That's doing like 19 damage. You're basically doing what a crossbowman would do, but even faster. They are now significantly more resistant to one of the few ways that you could chip at them. The irony is just crazy. These units needed a nerf, they got a buff, and I'm just going to keep repeating myself throughout this entire video. The Farimba Garrison is actually really cool. I like the rework. The Ottomans nerf is genuinely, like, ridiculous. They haven't meaningfully addressed rushes, and if anything, they only help the people that do that. So I don't know what they're doing. The Tuglocks. Like I said, they buff Ballista Elephants. Ballista Elephants already have, like, no counter. They can do counter damage to melee infantry because of ballistas. Pretty good ranged armor. And they outrange archers. The Emir Warriors. They need to be removed from the fucking game. There's so many changes and things that they added or things that they were developing that clearly were not play tested by somebody who was above Silver 1. Anything in this game that can be abused will be abused by the low IQ players. And the low IQ players are the majority of the player base because all they do is spam knights. So I'm glad that they changed the feudal armor where they get 4 instead of 6, but they need to be removed from the game. Like, this is tuning numbers on a unit that has structural problems. They're free. It costs you nothing by keeping somebody's base and getting 15 free units that have 4 ranged armor. In feudal, where your main range damage will be archers that will effectively be doing 2 range damage to you anyway, unless you're playing the British or Order of the Dragon. A small armor adjustment will not fix the experience of having your base invaded by feudal age keep building cavalry. Remove the ability to construct anything near your base. Remove feudal keeps from the fucking Tuglocks. Why can they do that? These are the changes that matter that people want to see, not fucking minor changes. Here's a summary. Siege has no counter still, and this patch made that worse. The knights are still broken, and spearmen still can't fix it. The strongest civilization in the game got cheaper units and a slap on the wrist, not a nerf at all. And the one upgrade that was functioning as a soft check on Siege got nerfed. Some of these problems have been in the game since, like, the original team was still running it. Some of these were created by the new team. A lot of these were created by the new team. But all of them are still here, and this patch didn't solve a single one of them in any meaningful way. The rock, paper, scissors system that this game was built on requires every element of it to actually work. And patching everything except the fundamentals is how you get a game that feels completely out of control no matter how good you are at it. That's my breakdown. If the next one looks anything like this one, which it probably will, I'll need a stronger fucking chair. I love this game. Everything about how the game was originally played was great. It needed some minor tweaks, but it was great. The things that made this game unique have been completely destroyed. The things that made this game stand out from other games that made you want to play it over other games is gone. The only reason why you would want to play this is because it is new. If you made it through that, drop a like and subscribe and let me know in the comments which change tilted you the most.